Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Feed My Sheep, Earthquake Reports, and more. I'm Terry Rampel, and it's the 24th of June, and we've had a lot of activity today. We tried to put a show up earlier this morning. Three times we've had some major technical difficulties. Hopefully those are overcome, but there's been a lot more activity again this evening, so later in the day at least. So let's begin. Here we've got a 5-6 in California, north of Ukiah. This is on the trend with Clear Lake volcano. So this is Clear Lake down here. This is geysers. We'll move up a little closer. So this is reported as a 5-6. We'll have a look at the seismology for this as well. So there's Ukiah there. This is Clear Lake down there, and Lakesport right on the side of it. And an increase in the number of earthquakes there. So we're up in the Redwood Valley, north of Ukiah. So this is on the volcanic trend, as we were saying, but the real spread of activity, using the USGS map, we can see that much more clearly. And the largest earthquake we've had to this point, there's a few more added in now. The largest is a 2.8 as an aftershock. Reported sizes. So looking at the seismology, this is from the North Clear Lake site. And that's what it looks like. It was basically turned off until this earthquake occurred, and then we started seeing some activity. So this isn't a real good representation, but it's the closest seismogram. The Cobb Geysers area site that we have access to shows us a lot of earthquakes in the area before and after, and that's not really identifying the aftershocks. So if we look from southeast Lassen, we're seeing what you might think are foreshocks, but they're not. There's actually a cluster of earthquakes that are in the Manton area west of Red Bluff, or east of Red Bluff. And this earthquake, or this seismogram, is showing the earthquake at a more correct size. It's further away, but doing a better representation. So it's a good-sized earthquake, a long duration of the large waveform. It could get up into a 6 quite easily. West of Lassen in the Manton area, we see the earthquakes that are associated with Manton much more clearly. They get quite a bit larger when you get right close to them. So there they are here. So a cluster of earthquakes just east of Redding. And here we have what looks to be, and I've seen this from this site before. I believe there's some geothermal or some such mechanical operation in the area that shows up with these clusters of sharp strikes. Looking from Red Bluff, we have a lot of tremors. There's a lot of tremors in Red Bluff, and there has been for some time. You saw them on the last report if you were on. I was showing Red Bluff tremors then as well. And from Redding, the tremors are even more intense. So these tremors begin on the coastline, work their way across, and lead into the mountains. So these are tremors of subduction. What were slow slip, we had similar slow slip in Washington, Oregon, Vancouver Island. California's catching up. It's in a fast creep mode of subduction right now, and it's feeding the volcanoes. So this is the updated swarm of earthquakes. We see them there. There's some added in red. So that's in the last couple of hours. And these are, and those are, of course, north of Clear Lake. And this is the cluster of earthquakes just east of Red Bluff. So there's Red Bluff there, and there's the earthquakes. This is an older, small cluster of 3. That's through the last 2 weeks. This is Mount Lassen up here. Now, North Japan just had a 6.9. What they propose is a 6.9. You can see it well from this Wrangell site. So there's a 6.9 and there's a second earthquake as well. You can see there's 2 of them, one here and one there. So this is showing the larger of the 2. So which one is the larger of the 2? If we look from Hokkaido, Japan, can I make that any larger? No, this was what was available on the screen when I got to it. So I got to it early enough that it preserved this. But when I clicked on it, it updated, and then we got this. So it's blacking out the whole screen on USGS heliplots. Same thing goes for Davao, Philippines. If I didn't click on it, I had this image. And when it updated, when I clicked on it, I've got this image here. So we had the second earthquake coming in within an hour of the first. So there's 2 earthquakes involved in this. The other one's in Venezuela, and that's at a 7.2. So this is the look from Antarctica. I'll show you that a little larger. This is Madagascar. It doesn't matter where you go in the world. Everything is on heliplots is pretty much blanked out with lines. There's very little white showing on the seismograms, indicating the size is actually larger than a 7.5. So this is the 7.2 reported in Venezuela. I believe this is Caracas. So right close to Caracas. Looking from Nicaragua, this is how it looks on the Geophone Potsdam site, or Geophone Potsdam series of sites. So there's Nicaragua. Looking from Lithuania. So there's 2 distinct earthquakes, and this is a double shot. Had a secondary event tied in with it. Now, I was interested to find this in Palestine. Unrelated, but significant activity. So we've got a lot of activity in different locations at the same time, all over the world. We've got some major shifting in Palestine, in Venezuela, and in North Japan. This is, and at the same time, we've got the movement in California. We've got major tremors in Northern California as well. And we're going to show you some other information, because it's not just these areas that are moving, and they're moving. If we're looking from Greenland, the Venezuela earthquake is a little bit larger. Not a lot. So it looks like the sizes are about correct and relative to each other. Both appear to be downgraded according to the waveforms on the heliplots. So let's back up a little bit. And back up we can, because I save a lot of data. And it's here right on the show channel that I use. So where are we going? Not to Cuba. This is the earthquake in Cuba. Significant earthquake there recently. Where are we at? We're Cleveland, Trident, Katmai, Snowy. Where are we at? We're in the Aleutian Islands. Give yourself a check mark if you got that correct. So let's start at the south base of Rainier. Here's 12 hours at the south base of Rainier. That's magma infill, and it's significant. And there's significant uplift. And when is this? This is, whoops. This is back on the 11th. Okay, now I think I'm back a little too far. Let's have a look. No, here we are. So we're going to look at all the earthquakes, 21 volcanic centers across Alaska are flared up right now. Small earthquakes and having magma signals at them. Edgecombe is one. Edgecombe is, by assessment of USGS, it's actually inflating, and they've got land height rise. So we've got 4 earthquakes at Edgecombe back on the 10th. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and we've got some significant tremors. We've got a small one down here as well. And here's Katmai with some very significant magma infill shown by these jagged lines, which indicate harmonic tremors, major harmonic tremors. They're a higher intensity, but of low wavelength. So they're VLF waves come from that. And that's indicated by the vertical height that they're VLF. You're getting small tremors mixed in with them and earthquakes. Katmai is very active. This is Snowy. And Snowy has some activity that's independent from Katmai, even though it's in there's a short chain of volcanoes right there from Martin to Snowy, and there's a few others, Four Peak and others. There's about 12 volcanoes all in a close line there, and this is kind of at one end of it, and it's showing earthquakes independent of what Katmai is, and tremors. This is Iliamna getting closer to Anchorage, and we see these vertical strike steam release signals as well. You see these strikes like this and like these, marked in red, single lines. Those indicate steam at depth. It may not be reaching the surface. It may not be a steaming volcano, but there's at least steam rising inside the volcano, and it's depressurizing to the point where the water in that subducted magma is bursting into steam. That's why you get those signals. This is Mount Redoubt with lots of small earthquakes and tremors as well. But you look at the page and we've got this one up here that's shared with a bunch of them. But here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, about 14 reportable size earthquakes showing on the page. Far more than nearby Augustine, which is showing this one shared up there, but it's showing some independent activity at Augustine as well. That's another volcano. This is Atka Volcanic Complex showing activity, and Tanaga. Now, if we look at Iliamna, this is just 2 days worth. And there's the small earthquakes right at Iliamna. We just looked at that on seismograms. At Martin, we see the same thing. The activity is more dramatic at Martin. It was more active on this day. But we're stretched out across the whole Aleutian chain. This is Martin. Magique is up here. It's also got some earthquakes near it. And this is showing 2 weeks. The orange is in 2 days. The yellow is 2 weeks. This is Trident. And Trident has a whole bunch of small earthquakes around it within 2 weeks. This is Katmai. Very, very active. These are all 1s and 2s. Augustine Island with the small earthquakes around it. When you get all these small earthquakes clustered around the volcano, it's because they're reactivating. Here we have Redoubt. There's no doubt about Redoubt. Look at all the earthquakes all around it. There's a couple kind of every day, every couple of days. But they add up over a 2-week period. There you are. That's an indication of a strong indication of reactivation. Here's Mount Spur. Lots of activity at Mount Spur. That's fairly close to Anchorage. And here's Magique with a few earthquakes right beside it. Veniaminoff. Kuprianoff. If I remember correctly, had not erupted for 6,600 years and doesn't even have a seismic site at it. The USGS and other agencies, Alaska Volcano Observatory, none of them were concerned about Kuprianoff reactivating because it had been dormant for so long. Now it's at yellow. This is what happens in reactivation. There's no such thing as an extinct volcano. They've proven that over and over and over again. Aniakchak using the 4 weeks duration assessment. So these are in the 2 to 4 weeks range. Pavlov using 4 weeks, so the yellows are in the 2 weeks, the whites are in the 4 weeks. Westdahl. Okmok. So you can see it's all through the chain, and I can keep going. There's Cleveland. And look at the tremendous activity. This is all involved with the volcano. There's the volcano. This is all part of it. Being just on the outskirts doesn't take it away from being volcanic in nature. These are all subduction zones. This is northern plate subduction zones, the northern Pacific plate. Atka Island with all kinds of activity over 4 weeks. Some in the last, a little bit in the last 2 days, more in the 2 to 4 week period, but some in the last 2 weeks as well. And here's Garaloy, and Garaloy is very, very active. And Semisopoknoi. Wrangell, we've shown over and over and over as reactivating small earthquakes every day. Garaloy, we look at the seismology there, and just look at small tremors of infill through here, and the uplift fracturing, long period magma infill signals, and then uplift fracturing through here. This is a very amazingly active volcano. And it wasn't like this until recently. It's the change, the recency and the changes that should have you concerned, that should get your attention, because this has changed recently. That's Cleveland. We saw lots of small earthquakes all around it. That's not there is far more than what's being reported. You can see it on the seismogram. These are at Cleveland. These are 1s and 2s. This site is not right on Cleveland itself. It's a distance away, and it's still picking up all this activity. So there's 1s, 2s, and 3s at Cleveland. And 30 a day, 20, 30 a day, not unusual. So far more than what's being reported. Atka Volcanic Complex, the same thing, far more than being reported. Look at the tremors at Davidoff. Now, when we're talking about volcanic areas, Mammoth is no different. This is the Sierra Nevadas west of Mammoth. And look at the activity. We can compare that to Mammoth Peak itself, and the activity is quite different. So the post-pile area of Mammoth, where the seismic site is, that's in the Sierra Nevadas. This is South Long Valley Caldera, so it's different as well from Mammoth and from the Sierra Nevadas west of Mammoth. So a few other sites. This site is amped way up, but it does show the tremors, and this is northwest of Fresno near Madero Rancho. So we're back in California, northwest of Fresno. Many hours of high volume tremors in the Sierra Nevadas east-northeast of Fresno near Sawmill Flat. So look at this up at the top of the screen. The bottom, that's a distant earthquake. But top of the screen, that's an awful lot of activity up there. And this is another version of it, tremors near Mariposa, which is foothills of the Sierra Nevada's west side and east of Modesto. Lots and lots of tremors there as well. So tremors all through California. This is southeast of Stockton. Northeast of Sacramento at Folsom Lake. This extends into up the Sierra Nevadas west of Lake Tahoe. Now we can see mechanical signals up here. This is over amplitude. These are not huge big tremors. These are light tremors, but there's a lot of them, and there are actually a lot of tremors there, regardless of the over amplitude state of this site. This is south of Hawthorne, so the activity extends all the way into Nevada. South of Hawthorne, lots of tremors there as well. And this is what we were showing you months and months ago. A year ago, we were showing that there was a lot of activity in Nevada. Indian Meadow, Wyoming has been flaring up recently. This is, again, through heliplots, I believe, USGS. That's a later shot of Indian Meadow. So it continued to have what? VLF signals. VLF signals of very low frequency signals relate to magma movement. So this is south of Yellowstone. Snow King Mountains had volcanic activity and tremors and VLF. That's more fault shift when you get this. Teton Pass, Wyoming, seeing fault shift as well as having tremors nearby. So lots going on. This we looked at the south base of Rainier. This is just a 12-hour seismogram. This is Mount Spur. It was shut down. This is the first one that's been back up and running. This is on, the date is the 15th. So the 15th it came back online, and there's all the earthquake activity we're seeing. So that's significant earthquake activity at Mount Spur, which is also reactivating. And USGS admits that, as also said, that it is reactivating, confirmed rather. And Iliamna continues to have that activity, snowy. See, now we're on 5 days later, we're on the 5th, we're still seeing all kinds of activity. Katmai, all kinds of activity at Katmai. Look at the tremors tied with VLF up at the top here. This is a distant earthquake here. This is another distant earthquake here. Those are not local signals, so we're ignoring those. But this is prevalent. This is significant. And the change, you can see the change dropping back to normal levels of activity here. It gets busy and it slows down again. It gets real busy and it slows down again. That's what's happening through the volcanic chain of the Aleutian Islands. Here's Trident again. So lots of magma movement down at the bottom of this. We had a bunch of it up at the top as well, but more tremors of infill. So we can go through site after site after site, showing all this activity. We can look west of Mammoth again, and it's different from Mammoth itself. Always save the comparison. There's the comparison with Mammoth. South of Fresno at Corcoran. Sorry, I'm mispronouncing that, butchering that one. But lots of tremors there. This is northeast of Lassen. That's a lot of uplift fracturing. South Lassen, by comparison, doesn't have nearly as much, but it's still carrying on. The signals are large enough to transfer right through to the south. North Shasta. This is normal activity for North Shasta right now. Mount Shasta. Cinnamon Butte, north of Crater Lake, periodically has significant magma infill activity as well. It's not just the big volcanoes, it's the small ones as well. South Newberry, active. Very active, infill. Southwest Newberry, very active. Trout Creek Butte doesn't show as much, but it's there. Sisters shows quieter. Mount St. Helens has been flaring up a lot. It's a rebuilding volcano, so it shouldn't be a surprise. And there it is. And this is carrying on later on the next day. More activity. Mount Adams is also active. This is the base of Mount Rainier at Mount Wow. It's been busier than that as well. This is Couch Creek, which is the base as well, showing activity. The gateway entrance, southwest. Look at all those tremors. So very, very active. Rainier is very active. This is back on the 18th. Carries on to the next day. This is Glacier Peak. Glacier Peak is also waking up. So it's lots of activity at Glacier Peak. That is no longer a dormant volcano. So we're looking at other activity. I don't remember which earthquake this was. I didn't write it down. South Shasta has also been busy, so we see the periods of infill there. And this is Medicine Lake. Medicine Lake's had a lot of activity recently. So it's all volcanic to the east of Mount Shasta, to the north of Mount Shasta, to the east of Mount Lassen as well. This is Mount Hebron, east of Mount Hebron. That's lots of magma movement in an area that's known to be volcanic as well. This is South Newberry again. Kawa Butte, west of Mammoth again. Adams, again being busy here. Here's West Medicine Lake. So rather than Central Medicine Lake, this is west. So it gets busy on one side, it'll be busy another day on the center. It'll be busy on another day to the east. That's a lot of activity. So the activity is ramping up. It's getting busier. This is Medicine Lake itself. Medicine Lake volcanic field. It's volcanic. Northeast of Mount Lassen. On the 16th. Here's Lake Almanor. Lake Almanor is right on the volcanic trend. It's full of tremors. It's full of tremors every day. Clear Lake Reservoir has major tremors. That's not Clear Lake Volcanic Field. That's Clear Lake Reservoir. Or Clear Lake Volcanic Center, I think it's called. Anyway, this is the reservoir in Northern California. This is Sutter's Butte. Sutter's Butte is also an active volcanic center. There are volcanic areas that are outside of the Sierra Nevadas that are also active, and Sutter's Butte is another one of them. Northeast of Mount Lassen. So I can show you more and more and more, including activity at Mount Baker, Mount Shuckson. These are harmonic tremors on the backside of Baker at Mount Shuckson. Back on the 20th. Medicine Lake again on the 20th. So there we are. So what's going on? That should be the big question. Why are we having earthquakes of near equal size on two sides of the globe? Either side of the Pacific is just about either side of the globe because the Pacific's the biggest ocean that we have. So we've got a near 7 in Japan, and maybe a 7.5 in reality in Venezuela. And then we've got the 5.6 in California, same day. We've got incredible tremors telling us that subduction is underway at a rapid rate. And I could get into coastline sites and show you the comparison that these coastline sites are full of tremors and they're extending inland and prove the point. But I've shown you that many, many times. So what's going on? Well, interesting to note, and I made some notes. A twin to our sun, being of the brown type, in order to maintain heat over time, has to be about 20, this is scientifically established, has to be at minimum 20 times the size of Jupiter. Now, Jupiter's gravitational field is about 20,000 times stronger than Earth's. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the gravity involved, not just the electrical interaction, but the gravitational force that's applied by something that is 20 times the size of Jupiter. Jupiter is 2.5 times the size of all the planets of our solar system combined. So when we talk about Jupiter and we talk about comparisons, there's significant comparisons. So 20 times the size of Jupiter. Jupiter has 20,000 times the gravitational field of Earth. Multiply that by 20, and the twin to our sun would have at minimum 400,000 times the gravitational force of Earth. the gravitational pull, and easily could have 500,000 times, because there's nothing to say that it's going to be the minimum size. So as it returns from its apogee, it's going to pull on the plates, and they're going to shift harder, and we're going to get increased rates of subduction. We're going to get plates shifting with larger earthquakes. And we're going to get shifts across whole big areas that don't normally all shift at the same time. That's kind of what we're seeing now. We're seeing increased rates of subduction all around the Ring of Fire. Evidence of it through Alaska, down the coast of BC, into Washington, Oregon, and California. And it's quite evident in the amount of earthquakes that we're seeing and what's showing up on the seismograms, that there is more force being applied. We're having a greater outcome from that force. And this fits right in with end times, with not end times, because we've been in end times. That's the period after the crucifixion of Jesus and his resurrection. That qualifies as end times biblically. But Great Tribulation, the last 3.5 years, has quite a number of earthquakes, large earth movements included in the prophecies. And so we're seeing that, and it ties in with the timing of the mark of the beast that we're able to see now that's coming up. The legislation that we have that's shutting down free speech in Canada and other areas, many other areas of the world, the attacks on Christianity that are getting more prevalent. It's a time like no other. There was never the potential to achieve fulfillment of the prophecies in Revelation until now. And people say, oh, well, that people have said that many times before. But now we have a polycrisis, and that's what Revelation talks about, a polycrisis situation. We've got financial upheaval. We've got famines coming in. We've got weather manipulation with drought. We've got pestilence that's being imposed by mankind, created by mankind. And for all those that are watching behind the scenes, this is going on. And we've got the intent to decrease the population in the world. And that's a stated intent that many large unelected elitist organizations. So all of this is underway as a polycrisis, and people are not seeing it for what it is. But it's tribulation, and it's underway. We're in it. And we're in it to win it. We're in it with the King that's coming to save us all. But he doesn't come to the end. We're the faithful witnesses that remain to the end, because at the end, a multitude comes from great tribulation, wearing robes washed white in the blood of the Lamb. So there's a great salvation through the time of great tribulation as well. That means there are witnesses, because faith comes first by witness. That comes from Jesus himself. You don't develop faith without witnesses. So what the organizations that don't believe are trying to do is shut down Christianity. And they don't want there to be any witnesses. They want this to be a war with God. And so a war they will have. But Christians will be protected. The woman flees to the wilderness, where she is kept for 1,260 days. That's the church. That's spiritual Israel. And so we have our places set for us, and that's biblical. There's no rapture, but there are places where we're set aside, and that's why we don't face the wrath of God. We're protected and we're set aside. We're put in his barn. So there we are. We hope that this helps you learn, be informed. And if you like what we're bringing to you, give us a thumbs up, stop by and comments, share us with someone else, with a friend. And we'll see you next time on Feed My Sheep, Earthquake Reports, and more. We're going to end with a prayer. Our Father, you are in heaven, and your influence is here on earth all around us. We are so grateful for it. We know that these are very challenging times that come, and we thank you that you have prepared us in every way for them, that you've given us every opportunity. You've also told all Christians to come out of her, because all the churches have joined together to make a one world church. All the leaders have joined. And so we're to come out of her, and that's what we've done. And we're grateful for the warnings that have been provided in the Bible for us that we do that. We thank you for all that you can continue to do for your children around the world, and that includes us. We are all very grateful, and we thank you for the peace and the love and the understanding that we have, the peace that passes understanding, although we see all of these things coming. 1,000 will fall by our left hand or our left side, and 10,000 by our right hand, but we will see them fall with our eyes, and nothing will come near us. And that's in your prophecies as well, in Isaiah. So we thank you for all that you provide for us, including the covering protection that we have through these times. In Jesus' name, amen. So that's it for tonight. Lots of information, big changes going on, and we'll see you next time on Feed My Sheep, Earthquake Reports, and more. Bye for now.